Hi everyone, it's Linnea Tucker. This is CPM2 Module 1 Vocabulary. Now I think I went over all of this, but just in case you missed it, you might have been absent or something, let's go over the vocabulary because there will be vocabulary on the test. All right, number 1 on your vocabulary sheet says, in 3 raised to the 6th power equals 729. 3 is called the base, and 6 is called the exponent. Number 2, a combination of operations on variables and numbers is called an expression. I'll show you more about that in a minute. Number 3 says a statement in the form of expression equals expression. Well, that's called an equation. And I know that this can be a little bit confusing at the moment since we really haven't done a lot with expressions and equations. So let me pop in some examples. If I had 2x minus 3x plus 5, let me do a second one. 2x minus 3x plus 5 equals 7. I first took this one right here is called an expression. I took that expression and I changed it into an equation. Tell me, what's the difference in the two? What's the difference in the two? The first part looks the same, 2x minus 3x plus 5, 2x minus 3x plus 5. Here I threw in an equal sign. And if you see here, right there, do you see what almost looks like the word equal? It almost looks like the word equal. Except for we threw off the L and put on a T-I-O-N. Anytime you have an equation, you've got an equal sign in it. An expression does not. The only thing that you can do with an expression, and you'll learn about this later, not now, you can simplify an expression by combining like terms. I can take the 2x and I can subtract 3x. That gives me negative 1x or negative x plus 5. That's all you can do with an expression is simplify it. But with an equation, I can simplify it and then I can solve for x. Okay? And you'll learn how to do that later. Okay, in this case, I get subtract 5 equals 2, x equals negative 2. With an equation, you can calculate a value for x. With an expression, you can't. The only thing you can do with it is simplify it. So for now, you just need to know the difference. And this 7 is an expression. Here I have, let me erase some of this so you can see what we got going on here. All right. This right here is an expression equals another expression. And a number by itself is considered an expression. Okay? So, back to here. All right, number 4 says, a blank of an equation is a number that when substituted for the variable makes the equation a true statement. That's the solution. And we're going to be working more with that in Module 2. A solution of an equation is any number that when you substitute it in makes that equation a true statement. So if I had x plus 2 equals 5, my solution is x equals 3. If I substitute 3 in right here, 3 plus 2 equals 5, that makes the equation a true statement. Okay, so scrolling on down, number 5 says, this sign means what? Well, that's the less than sign. And this sign means what? Yeah, that's greater than. Number 6, the number's distance from 0 on a line is called its absolute value. Absolute value is the distance a number is from 0, and distance is always positive. So absolute value of a number is always positive. Number 7, the product of two positive numbers. Product means you're multiplying. You're multiplying. So if I take a positive number and multiply it by another positive number, I get what? Yeah, I get a positive number. The product of two positive numbers is positive. Okay, next page. Oops, that's not the next page. Oh, I just hadn't scrolled down far enough. Let me blow this up some more. And let's scroll down some more. I thought I was at the bottom. I guess I wasn't. All right, number 8. The product of two negative numbers. Now remember, product means we're doing what? Product means we're multiplying. The product is actually the answer of a multiplication problem. If I take 2 times 3 and get 6, 6 is the product. Product means the answer in a multiplication problem. Okay, so if I multiply two negative numbers together, if I take a negative number and multiply by a negative number, my answer is going to be what? And my answer is going to be positive. A negative times a negative is positive, and a positive times a positive is positive. All right? And I made a video on this one, on products of positive and negative numbers. Okay, the product means the answer to a multiplication problem of a negative and a positive number. If I take a negative times a positive, my answer is going to be what? Yeah, it's negative. And the product, which means the answer to a multiplication problem, the product of a positive and a negative number gives me what kind of answer? Yeah, it's negative. So let me go ahead and put this one up here, kind of to finish all this out. Right here, a positive times a positive gives you a positive answer. All right? Number 11. Let me blow this up. Number 11 says, when you add two negative numbers, you always get a positive number. Well, you can come up, pick an example. When you add two negative numbers, let's take -2 plus -3. What do you get when you add 2 negative chips plus 3 more negative chips? I get 5 negative chips. When you take a negative plus another negative number, your answer becomes even more negative. So it says when you add two negative numbers, you always get a positive. That's false. You always get a negative number. Okay? Number 12. When you multiply two negative numbers together, you always get a positive. Well, we just went over that. When you multiply two negative numbers, yes, you always get a positive. That's true. Number 13 says, briefly explain the process of adding two positive numbers. A positive number plus a positive number equals a positive number. I mean, I don't know how to explain it any better than that. 14 says, briefly explain the process of adding two negative numbers. Well, if you start off with a negative and you add another set of negatives to it, your answer is negative. A negative number plus a negative number equals a negative number. I mean, I guess you could show some examples here if you wanted to further explain. If I had 2 plus 3, if you're using integer chips, Here's 2 positives, and I'm throwing in 3 more positives. Altogether, you have what? Yeah, you have 5 positives. Altogether, 5 positives. If I'm doing negative numbers, if I have -2 plus -3, well, here's 2 negatives, and now I'm going to add 3 more negatives. So altogether, I have what? Yeah, 5 negatives. You can help explain by showing examples. Number 15 says, briefly explain the process of adding a positive and a negative number. Okay, you subtract the numbers. Add-in, okay, let me show you what an add-in is. Let's say I have 2 plus -3, so I'm adding a positive and a negative number. This is an add-in, and this is an add-in. The two numbers that you're adding together are called add-ins. Okay, so in this case, you're going to subtract the two numbers. Take 2. The difference between 2 and 3 is 1. The add-in with the largest absolute value gives its sign to the answer. The absolute value of 2 is 2. The absolute value of -3 is 3. This is your larger add-in. So this number gives its sign to the answer. Okay? Number 16, briefly explain the process of adding a negative and a positive number. It's exactly the same as 15 above. And I'll take an example. Let's take -4, there's a negative number, plus 2. There's a positive and a negative and a positive. Okay, well, you subtract the two numbers, so the difference between 4 and 2 is 2. Now, you take the absolute value of the two numbers. Well, the absolute value of -4 is 4. The absolute value of 2 is 2. The add-in with the larger absolute value, which is this one, gives its sign to the answer. Okay? And I think that's all we have for vocabulary. Yep, that's it.